Hello, welcome or welcome back. I'm Alex. Can you believe it? Oh no, I will have to hold on a second. Every time I touch this table, it shakes. And I know how annoying that is because I have had some booktubers that I follow who were either on a bed or I don't know at a desk, and they use their hands like I do, or they move their body a little bit and the image starts shaking. And I know how annoying that can get. So I will try my best not to touch the table because of that. But yeah, I'm here recording again some minutes later another video. I actually just recorded the final thoughts for the Vienna vlog. Today is Tuesday, 24th of February, and I wanted to record the video about the new tag that was started by Sophie. She called it What Matters About Reading, or Original Tag and Discussion. That's the name of her video. So here's to Sophie for making the tag. I think the questions are brilliant. And yesterday, while I was decompressing from reading some heavy books, I took the questions from her video and I started answering them by hand in my notebook that I had with me. I'm trying not to put my hand on the table, my arm on the table. So I will try my best to answer these questions. And I have some notes here, so I guess I will do a lot of cutting in between questions because I really haven't prepared much or memorized the answers. I just went on a whim. Maybe I will add something new and completely unexpected from what I was brainstorming yesterday. So the first question is, what do you want to get out of reading and what stays with you after? And here I answered that this is heavily conditioned on whether the book is fiction or nonfiction and whether it is something that I read for pleasure or I read it for work. But in my case, very often these two distinct features intersect simply because books that I read for pleasure, I often approach them with this very analytical lens that I use also in my work. Hence, that might also require a lot of energy and thinking and a little bit of emotional investment that I otherwise wouldn't have with some books that I don't approach in that way, although that is very rare. So I guess my answer to this question in particular, what I want to get out of reading and what stays with me after, is I'm really seeking to expand my worldview and I'm really seeking to maybe understand deeper character development if it is a fictional book. And right now, I am very interested in novels who explore the depth of character and who have these lengthy descriptions, not only of the emotional states that the characters are in, but also of the surroundings that the scene is taking place. I really want to have that landscape description or the room description where the characters are renegotiating or negotiating their position to each other and to the world around them. So I guess that's what I would like to take. I often also think that it depends what I take out of the reading. It can be very different from what my intention was at the beginning when I picked up a book. And this can be also conditioned on my own mental state, on the things that are happening in my life, where I'm also reading the book, because there is a striking difference if I'm reading the book in public and if I'm reading in the privacy of my own home. Second question is, what is reading with intention? And my answer, I will just read what I wrote here. I said, here I would like to focus on word reading because reading is already an activity that contains a form of intention. And within that intention, there is another layer of intention. And my intention is political, as reading is a political act. And that's what I would like to focus here, that the intent of reading particular books is political. Every choice I think the readers make, whether they like it or not, it is a political choice. You are in some way making a decision about a book, a choice for a book that's going to shape you in some way or form, whether not talking about this dislike aspect, which will come later in one of the questions, but they shape you nevertheless, even if it might be a trashy romance novel. It is still political. Third question is, what interests you about somebody else's relationship to a book? So, what I like to know about the relationship that someone else might have with the book is very simple. I am a nosy bitch, and I want to know, how is it that you came across this book? Did somebody recommend it to you? Were you in a bookstore browsing and it caught your attention? I want to know how you started your relationship with a particular book. And then, of course, I would like to hear more about your experience of reading the book, whether there was some minor detail in the book that caught your attention. Was there some character that you were fascinated with, and why? If it is a nonfiction academic book, why in particular you picked this topic to read? Are you trying to get to know more of the history on the subject, or are you just interested in the social aspect of it? Are you interested in how this particular thing has shaped society, how you have been taught about it throughout your life in the educational system and outside of it? Are you interested to know yourself through the books that you read, and not only know the material that you consume, but to learn more about yourself and how the books affect you through the experience of reading? Next question, that is the fourth question. How do you talk about books with others? What do you usually want them to know about a book? Like I said previously, I am a nosy bitch, but I'm also a very selfish bitch. And if I read a book that I really like, I want my friends and acquaintances to read it, and I will not stop yapping about it until you pick it up. It has happened recently with Liliana's Invincible Summer, that I was so affected by the book and I loved it so much. Then when I was speaking to a woman who works at a faculty, she was so caught by my enthusiasm for the book that she asked me if I could borrow it to her after I finish it. And I was so happy that she asked me, because it made me extra happy that my retelling and my impression of the book had awoken a curiosity in someone else. And it was very funny. Every time I would go to work and see her, I was like, so how's it going? So how's it going? I was annoying her every day. I was like, I'm not like rushing. She's like, I'm very slow with reading it. She doesn't read that many books in English. But I was like, you just take your time. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on it, whether you enjoy it, and the writing style and the story, the life story of her sister. Even though it's devastating, it's still so very beautiful. So in that sense, I want you to pick that book that I recommend, and there is no greater compliment for me than having a person tell me that they read a book that I recommended, and whether they enjoyed it or not, it's irrelevant, but that they just actually engaged in this act of looking to find the book that I recommended. The fifth question is, do you review books publicly or privately? I mostly do it publicly. So some years ago, I started reviewing them on my Instagram. And then after a while, I stopped simply because I was doing a lot of work for it and it wasn't getting much attention from people. My profile at the time was public, so, and I was like putting tags, but I wasn't getting anywhere. I wasn't like looking into becoming a bookstagram influencer. I was just looking to engage in conversation with different people about the books that I was reading. So that wasn't really working out for me. And then I had an idea to start a podcast, but I realized that it would require a lot of work. The way I wanted to do it, the way I wanted to engage with the material and prepare for each episode, it required a lot of energy and work. So I abandoned that idea and then I started this booktube channel. And now I do it off and on and I review books here, but more recently I started writing short essays on my Patreon. So I don't usually write a lot of I don't review every single book I read. Like, for example, the last three books that I read, I haven't written anything. Maybe I will write something. I could do that today. I have a whole day for that. I took this day for actually recording the vlogs and possibly reviewing the books. And privately, I don't really review, but I do take notes for my work from the books that I read for my PhD. I take extensive notes and then I also write commentary to those notes from the books that based on what I could extract from what I'm reading and what I could use for my own work and how I can reflect through different authors' work. I can reflect my own work. The next question, and that is the sixth question: do you use a rating system? Why not? I'm actually pretty terrible at keeping track of what I read. I think it was maybe 15 years ago or more that I had this moment where I opened Goodreads and I was like trying to put in all the books that I read, but that didn't get far. And I didn't track my books at all. And once I started BookTube, I also started profile on Storygraph. And I was just curious to see how much I can read during 1 year and to see what I'm also reading, how my mood is shifting, and whether I am able to pick up books pretty fast, one after the other. And I learned a lot about myself during the tracking in this way, like using the app Storygraph. And the rating system, I don't really rate books. I did rate them last year. Like I was giving them stars on the rating system that they have, but it just made me feel so uncomfortable. Sometimes I would like give a four and I would be like, but I don't think this book is a four. And then I would feel bad if I would give a lower star number. And it just, even though something was off with the book that I was reading and it didn't really resonate with me, I just found it very disrespectful to give stars to the work that somebody has invested their time and effort to write, even though I might not find it particularly valuable, let's say, but I just felt that it wasn't really my thing. And then I just decided to kind of write short reviews in order to help other readers if they want to make a decision about the book that I read, whether they should pick it up or not. Next question is, do you ask yourself if you liked a book? How much does liking a book matter? And here I had a very kind of, I have a critical approach to this question. Oftentimes, when we had discussions in class during my master thesis, there was a lot of this like dislike conversation regarding certain topics. And I don't think it's a matter of liking or disliking. And in this context, I wrote the word like in my own reading ethics can be synonymous with the word wrecked, meaning emotionally wrecked, moved, whether the book has moved me intellectually, affected, whether the book has changed my perspective, marked, what has remained with me from the book that I read. And if I think of the word like in this regard, then I would conclude that liking a book matters greatly. So that was my reflection from yesterday. Question 8. What do you seek out from others who read publicly reviews, summaries, analysis, a curriculum? So my answer here is, thus far I have acquired a particular taste when it comes to online content I like to consume, but this can also change over time. It can be affected by different parameters. Sometimes I prefer a deep dive podcast episode, while other times I am just curious what people are reading. Fortunately, I found that even though people might pick up a rather complex book, that does not mean that they will be able to understand it. And this has happened to me several times, that some content creators that I follow, I follow them because they have a similar taste in books, but their understanding of those books is very simple minded. And I was wondering, how is it possible that somebody can read such complex literature and at the same time have a very mundane understanding of what the book is about? Reviews and summaries can be rather useful, and I really do appreciate content creators who would summarize the book and review it, but sometimes I really want more, and that means going into the quote unquote spoilers. I don't really mind if certain information is shared from the book. It doesn't really ruin my experience with it, because I'm not reading the book for the plot line, not necessarily for that. So I'm not one of those readers who gets upset if somebody gives extra information, and maybe I am in that way a particular. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I just want more. And then I wrote, I am not necessarily interested in curriculums, as I tend to make one for myself, rather than have others do it for me. And the final question is, who do you go to for those things? And my answer is, this is again highly conditioned by literature that I read. Whether it's academic nonfiction, I usually find it through other books or articles. It also depends what I am reading. If I am working on a particular article, then I'm looking for specific information, and then I'm using search engines to find articles and books that are tackling this topic. Another way that I do it, if I read an author and I'm pulled in by their writing, then I will look into their other works. And this has happened to me with several authors that I loved their work so much that I became completely obsessed with their work and read almost their whole oeuvre. Another way is through other booktubers and those I follow on Storygraph. And I really do appreciate the work that the people that I follow do. Most of them, some of them, I just have there and I haven't watched their videos in ages. But for the ones that I enjoy, I really appreciate the time and effort that they have invested in making the videos to share the books that they are reading currently, because very often I do find books that I would like to read in that way. And of course, bookstores and different publishers. I am subscribed to newsletters from different publishers, and I also love going to bookstore and browsing. Just browsing until you find something that you have not heard of ever before, which has been the case now in Vienna. I have been able to find books that I never heard of the author, never heard of the titles, never saw them discussed anywhere, and I am really pleased about that. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. 9 questions in total. I will have to obviously edit this video simply because I was stumbling a lot with some of the answers that I was giving. Thank you, Sophie, for creating this tag, and thank you for tagging me to make this video. I will probably tag some people in the description, so please go ahead and take a look at those profiles and give them your support if you like their content. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.